Notre Dame head coach Marcus Freeman had a private press conference of sorts with the local media in South Bend. Tyler Horka was in the room. So we're going to talk about the key things that Freeman spoke about. This is going to be the first time I'm hearing about this stuff as well. But Tyler, let's start with Marcus Freeman's thoughts on the USC rivalry and the future of it. What did he have to say?
Yeah, obviously a very topical topic right now, if you will, across college football. You've got people that aren't even affiliated with Notre Dame and USC talking about what's happening there because that's a game that, let's face it, we grew up with as college football fans. Marcus Freeman even said that. He said, look, I hadn't been affiliated with Notre Dame all my life either until a couple of years ago, but I knew about Notre Dame and USC. So I'm going to give you a little quote on what he thinks about maybe those two teams not playing because of a scheduling snafu, conflict, whatever you want, a disagreement, if you will, both teams not seeing it eye to eye. This is what Marcus Freeman said. It's pretty black and white for me. You want my opinion? I want to play them every single year. When? I don't care. I don't care when we play them, start of the season, middle of the season, end of the season. I don't care. I want to play USC every year because it's great for college football. So he left no stone unturned there. He pretty much said it like it is. And I think that's the right answer too. I mean, like I said, this is a rivalry that's gone on for quite some time. Everyone knows it. It's been a staple in college football, and to see it go would be a very sad thing.
So Notre Dame obviously hired Chris Ash to become its new defensive coordinator. Freeman talks about why Mike Mickens did not get the job.
Yeah, really good question asked there because I think a lot of Notre Dame fans were probably asking the same question themselves. If
You were.
Marcus Freeman, yeah, if Marcus Freeman said and multiple times that Mike Mickens is ready to be a defensive coordinator, why was he not promoted to defensive coordinator at Notre Dame? And Marcus Freeman was pretty transparent in saying what we lost with Al Golden going to the Cincinnati Bengals in the NFL, he was looking for some traits there. And to me, reading between the lines, it's experience. It's having been at multiple different places, at multiple different levels of coaching football. And he saw those things in Chris Ash. Not to say he doesn't see him in Mike Mickens, but again, experience just as a player, like you want a quarterback with a bunch of experience, right? And that's why this season's going to be so interesting for Notre Dame on that front, because you don't know what you have in CJ Carr and Kenny Minchie. He feels like he knows what he has in Chris Ash. And look, he knows what he has in Mike Mickens too. He's not backing down from the fact that he thinks Mike Mickens is going to be a defensive coordinator, maybe even a head coach at some point. But he's seen Chris Ash do both of those things before, and that's what he wanted to bring in replacing Al Golden for that position. So a lot of transparency again there from Freeman.
Tyler, what's going on with Notre Dame's Viper position?
Yeah, it was a very telling point of the little sit down that we had with Freeman. He had a little roster, I believe it was, right in front of him because he's expecting some questions about personnel and whatnot, right? And he was specifically asked about the defensive ends, and Marcus Freeman said, look, I don't even know if we have it labeled as Viper here on my depth chart because he doesn't see it that way anymore. So the Viper position was unique for Notre Dame because it was the one defensive end spot that could drop back into coverage, right? On the boundary side, you could drop that guy. He wasn't just going to rush the quarterback every single time. Freeman says now Notre Dame is recruiting defensive ends, and the personnel has dictated to a point that anybody can drop back and anybody can rush the passer. And there's a blending of the two sides there where, look, you could put some of these guys that Notre Dame's recruited on either side of the formation, and the goal is the same: go get the quarterback or go drop back into coverage. It's a mixing of what you're asking the players to do, and it's not so pigeonholed to say the Viper does this and the strong side does this. So I thought that was very interesting, and it's kind of a direction that Notre Dame's going, right? It's positionless defensive end. Like they want you to just go out there and be you and be the guy that they recruited. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, I've always kind of cringed a little bit when people have said that like Jordan Botelho and Boubacar Traore may not see the field together because they're both Vipers, and I always thought, dude, they're both defensive ends. So I actually like hearing that. Talking about Marcus Freeman's press conference with Tyler Horka, please hit the thumbs up on this video. Subscribe to the Blue and Gold YouTube channel if you are new here. Much more coverage on this over on our website, blueandgold.com. The last time Freeman spoke with the media was the spring ball wrap up where Steve Angeli did not come up. He did today.
Yeah, and I'm still kicking myself a month later, Mike, because I wanted to ask him that Steve Angeli question. I'm glad it came up today, and it came up in that context too. Look, Angeli has been not a part of the Notre Dame football program now for over a month, and that is a little bit weird to say because Marcus Freeman is asked about it today, and he said, man, how long was that guy here? 3 going on 4 years, and now we don't have him anymore. So what Freeman said about that was it's like a coin has 2 sides, right, Mike? On the one side, it's we love Steve Angeli. We want the best for Steve Angeli. He did mention that he got his degree. If you saw some photos coming out of graduation weekend, Steve Angeli looked happy as ever to be wearing that blue and gold and have that very expensive piece of paper in his hand that's going to do wonders for him down the line in his life when he's finished playing football. On the other side of that, he still wants to play football right now, and he still has goals in college football, and one of those is to be a starting quarterback. And Freeman told us straight up, Steve Angeli felt like his chances of being a starting quarterback were probably higher somewhere else than they were at Notre Dame this particular season. And that says a lot about Kenny Minchie, says a lot about CJ Carr, says a lot about, I guess, him ending up at Syracuse. There's a position battle to be won there, I believe. I don't know everything about Syracuse's depth chart, but it's not like he's going to walk in and be the starter. But it sounded like, Mike, he was going to have a tougher time beating out the guys that were in South Bend. So he made the move after what Freeman, I believe, called a tough and honest conversation.
So Freeman made it seem like it was Steve's decision to go.
Did kind of make it seem that way, yes.
Don't know if that is, I don't know if I agree with that from everything that I was told behind the scenes, but we will move on. The national championship, were 4 months and a little bit of change removed from
Just
that.
over 4 months.
How's Freeman kind of feeling about that game in retrospect?
Yeah, he was asked point blank about that. When you think about that night in Atlanta, like you said, just over 4 months ago, what do you feel? And I was pretty taken aback by Freeman's answer. He gave 4 pretty strong words to describe what he feels about that night: pain, devastation, disappointing, underachievement, but he said underachieve. He was just kind of spitballing. So, man, that tells you everything that you need to know about Marcus Freeman. It's not, and look, he did say that's him being selfish. He even used that word, like, I'm being selfish when I think personally those are my emotions. But then he says he's taken a step back and he realizes that Notre Dame won, 13 games in a row to get to that point, 14 games total in the season. You only lose 2, and that's one of them. You're only one of 2 teams playing at the very end of the season. So in totality, obviously it was one of Notre Dame's best seasons in a while. It was Marcus Freeman's best season as the head coach at Notre Dame. But when he thinks about that one particular night, he even said this as well: I wish we could go back and let's do it one more time. So that tells you everything you need to know about Marcus Freeman, the head coach. He wants to be in that exact same spot again, and he wants to be on the other side of it. Like 4 months later, this is still killing him that Notre Dame didn't play. He said Notre Dame didn't play its best when it needed to play its best. So give the Irish another opportunity to do that, and I think things look a little bit different. I know for pretty good certainty Notre Dame's probably not going to fall behind by, what was it, Mike? Like 3 touchdowns in that game. I think they start a little bit better, and maybe things turn out a little bit differently as well.
Tyler, any specific updates on a certain player to come out of this?
Yeah, last year it was the Tyler Buckner thing, right? Like that's where we learned that Tyler Buckner was going to be a walk-on wide receiver for the Notre Dame football team, which was crazy news at the time. No crazy news coming out of this. He was asked specifically about some players, but nothing related to injuries. So it sounds like everyone's pretty healthy. Obviously, he was asked about the quarterbacks. He said that those guys are really talented, and he's excited to see that competition play out. But I'll just kind of go down a little list that I have from my notes. Charles Jagasaw, he was asked about, and I know he's answered a few questions about that, but it was very telling when he said, yeah, keeping him at guard instead of moving him back to tackle was about getting the 5 best offensive linemen on the field. It sounds like Anthony Knapp is one of those 5, and that's why they couldn't move Jagasaw back to tackle, because they want Anthony Knapp to be on the field. That was pretty telling. Eli Raridan, he thinks needs to be a game changer. Like that's the bottom line for the Notre Dame tight end position is Eli Raridan. If he's a game changer, Notre Dame's going to be fine. If he's not, Notre Dame's going to be scrambling a little bit at that position. And then one other thing from specific players that came out, 2 wide receivers. He says he's never really seen a wide receiver practice with the intensity and the purpose and the intentionality and all those things as Will Pauling. So I
Mm,
would be looking out for Will Pauling because we didn't get to see all of Will Pauling in the spring, right? He was coming back from that injury that he sustained at Wisconsin. So you haven't seen the best of Will Pauling in a Notre Dame uniform, and you might really see it when it matters the most. And then another guy, Jaden Greathouse, he said it took Notre Dame way too long to realize that if Jaden Greathouse is in one-on-one coverage, you throw him the ball.
yeah.
You just do it. Now, obviously, if there's a safety hanging over the top and he's in the slot, that makes things a little bit harder. But they realized, and you saw it in the playoff, Mike, anytime that Greathouse was one-on-one, Riley Leonard was like, I'm going to throw him the ball.
Yeah.
We're either going to get a big play, he's going to make a big play, or we're going to go down trying because it's worth it.
Yeah, PFF just came out and said that Notre Dame was the number 10 wide receiver room in the country, and I'm like, man, I feel like I've been fooled so many times on this, but maybe this is the year. We'll see. Folks,
Yeah.
please hit the thumbs up on this video if you liked what you heard from Tyler Horka. Some really good stuff coming from a private press conference with the local media with Notre Dame head coach Marcus Freeman. Head to blueandgold.com for much more on this press conference, and as always, folks, we'll catch you next time.